Welcome to the Mississippi Link Live, where we report stories that emphasize the concerns of the Black community and its listeners. I'm your host, Tanya Gray. Today, I am joined by the man behind it all. He is the founder and reason the Mississippi Link newspaper exists. He owns Socrates Gary Enterprises Construction, and he is the visionary behind We Believe and why you are viewing this program, in addition to a number of other business endeavors. Mr. Gary, I am so excited to be talking to you. How are you this evening?
I'm doing very well.
Yes, so you and I were in attendance for a special council meeting for the city of Jackson that was held on May 4th at New Horizon Church, and it was filmed and can be viewed on WeBelieveDigital.com. And the purpose of that meeting, or the title of the agenda, was Tackling Jackson's Crime Crisis. In your opinion, does the city of Jackson have a crime crisis?
Oh, absolutely. We've never experienced the number of homicides that we had last year, and we're on a record-setting pace to even have more this year. So there is a crisis in our community for certain, and it's several crises going on at the same time. So we certainly need an event like the one that was held at New Horizon Church.
So you think the event was very beneficial, and it shed some light on how we can move forward in helping to eradicate the crime?
Well, I do, but I think that what it displayed, first of all, was that we could come together as a community around law enforcement and code enforcement and our judges. And so when you have that many agencies represented at one time at one location, that's pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
I think, I can't recall all that was there, but I do know that I saw.
Hold that thought, Mr. Gary.
Yes.
We're going to watch this clip.
Okay.
Tremendous discussions related to the crime circumstance in Jackson, Mississippi. And the first thing that I want everybody here to know, and people who would be watching this on the various forums that this is being broadcast out, is that the clergy in this city absolutely cares about what is going on. We care. We are hurt absolutely about the loss of life and the injury that is being done to so many, especially as it affects our children. And whether that is children who end up being the victim or children that actually end up being the perpetrator. That is just very, very hurtful to us. And clergy talks a lot about this and about what we can do to be a part of the solution. We are at the place in this city where I think I can speak for them, because a lot of us have had conversations about it, where we're tired, as the old saying, as Fannie Lou Hamer said, of being sick and tired about it. And we're prepared to help. Certainly, as I look around here to see the clergy that's here, all of these folks are already doing things to be a part of that solution. But I think the thing that is very, very significant at this point is that we've determined that we're going to bring our resources together, and we're going to work in tandem, and that very soon this city will see a lot of the efforts that we will be doing that we believe are going to make a significant difference. And so that's what we want this community to know, that we care and that we are unified, and that we're willing and we will put our time, effort, and money into helping make a difference.
So Bishop Kruder talked about unity, and that was kind of what you were on the heels of saying before, that snippet that it showed that we could come together. How beneficial do you think the church is in aiding into assisting in this crisis?
Well, I think the church has been absent. And I think that, to hear bishops say that they're coming together and in tandem is a unique statement, because in the African American community, unity is something that's difficult to achieve.
Yes.
Whether it's in churches, whether it's in politics, whether it is in just community activity. So it was a major statement. If the churches can come together and work in tandem to put their influence to solve a problem, that's something new for us.
Why do you feel that there is such a lack of unity within the Black community? What do you see some of the issues facing and why we are not united?
Well, it goes all the way back to the Willie Lynch letter in terms of how do you keep African Americans separated? How do you keep them fighting amongst themselves? How do you make them target one another, the light skin versus the dark skin? How do you keep Negroes in their place? And once you get them fighting amongst themselves, the rest of it is easier to keep them separated.
You're right about that. I thought it was very historic that it was so many people that came out. I was actually shocked. Were you surprised by the turnout?
No, because we're in a crisis situation. This meeting didn't occur because it was something that the church and the leaders came together and said we need to come together. They are in a panic crisis mode. The killings in our communities have to stop. Someone has to come up with strategies and plans to make a difference in that regard. So the churches are not proactive here, but they are reacting to a problem, and that's good to see that they're going to get involved.
Well, Mr. Gary, there were several people that were on deck to talk about the violent crime, and we're going to get into that a little bit more as we go. But before we do that, I'd like to remind you about our weekly show lineup. Tuesday at 7:30 p.m., Socrates Garrett Live. Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., The Tanya G Show. Thursday at 6:30 p.m., The Doors of the Church Are Open. Friday at 6:30 p.m., The Mississippi Link Live. And Saturday at 10 a.m., the USDA Adventurous Update. Be sure to tune in. We have about 30 seconds. Please support We Believe Digital. We have a great lineup here, and we are doing great things. We need all of the support that we can get. Also support the MississippiLinkLive.com. You can get the e-edition online and also subscribe to the Mississippi Link. I think it's $52 for a subscription for the year. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes, sir. And we will be right back after these words from our sponsors. Stay tuned. We'll see you in just a little bit. Socrates Garrett Live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Socrates talks politics, finances, and social issues that affect the Black community and so much more. Phenomenal guests and engaging conversation. Straight talk, no nonsense topics that are informative, educational, and inspiring. Socrates goes live with politicians, church leaders, business owners, and others. The time is now. Talking to you about us. Socrates Garrett Live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
New set, new look, new network. Catch the Tanya G Show every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Let's talk politics, business, the future, and more. Interested in being a guest? Email viralstreamtv@gmail.com. The Tanya G Show, where the guest is the star of the show. Every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. live streamed on WeBelieveDigital.com.
Have you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection. giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee. To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
We're back live with the Mississippi Link Live, and I'm joined here by Mr. Socrates Garrett. We're talking about the crime crisis here in Jackson. One of the things that I want to ask, and we're not going to see a clip of this, but Councilman Stokes was talking about gun runners, and he requested more of a presence with ATF in the city. Do you feel that there should be more of a police presence in our communities, particularly ATF, and if so, why?
Well, if we're going to combat crime, the only agencies that we have to do that are crime fighters, which would be the police department, ATF, U.S. Marshal's Office, and those agencies, Highway Patrol, all of those agencies that are chartered with fighting crime. And so we have to have a greater presence than we currently do.
I feel, Mr. Garrett, if you have a greater presence, then there's not a lot being emphasized on resources to help the people to prevent them committing crimes. I think if you increase police presence, that arouses more fear. But I also want to talk about the violent crime rate, because a lot of the officials that were on deck talked about different aspects of violent crime, but I also think we need to understand what the statistics are of the crimes that are being committed, so that we would know if we need a greater presence. If only 139 homicides were committed last year out of a population of 166,000 people in the city of Jackson, is that really a crisis?
It really is. It really is. And I think you are conflicted between being an African American with a history.
We have access to people. We meet with people every week. The reason why we have church is because we're trying to empower them to practice biblical principles. And if we deviate from that, it's always going to be what it is and get worse. We have a plan that we are implementing to the city. Since we need to talk to them, they will not come to church because they are not ready for it. Some people, it's a turnoff. That there is a location, a meeting place that we're looking at there on Ellis Avenue, that Hardy School has been boarded up. Prime location, the ideal facility. We have a list of programs: anger management, parenting classes, substance abuse, and the list goes on. Anger, what causes people to commit crime. They have not learned how to control their anger. Everybody, every human being, regardless of your status, need counseling. Even a counselor need counseling. These people need to be counseled. We want to meet with them in this particular facility. As they come in, it's set up for basketball playing, other activities. And as they come in playing basketball, whatever activity there is, there will be a staff. Not just any staff, and not just anybody, but we're talking about a person that showed love and kindness. The record is, the Bible says, love and kindness have I drawn. The way to reach a person is to show love and treat them with kindness. When they come into that facility, there will be a staff, Hopefully, it will be a staff of young people, their peers, would just love on them and just show kindness. And as time progresses, you're building up a relationship, building trust. Now, during the period of trusting and building up the relationship, now you can talk to them. You can invite them now to the church. This is what we are really working on. We can only do so much. We have the access to people to train to reset their mind. We need resources. We need the city to provide a facility where we can work in and work out of. Not only just for young people, it's for all ages.
Dr. Blunt called me about a week ago or several days ago. And the same thing that he's talking about tonight, he mentioned it to me. I do not want to hear him speak tonight and not say we're going to support him. Somebody helped us when we were younger, and Mary Jones was the same sinner that you talking about now. We passed by Hardy School and we almost cried, seeing it boarded up and all those kind of things. We went to Hardy, people out of Georgetown. When they walked on some of the white people's yards to keep from going in the street, they come outside cussing them and everything else. Hardy should not be closed. Now, if your suggestion is to bring something meaningful to Hardy, like I hear tonight, my commitment, 1 out of 7, is that the city of Jackson need to put you somewhere in the budget.
Middle school being a restoration building of stores. Are you in agreement with that?
Well, let me go back and finish the point
Yes,
I
sir.
was making
Yes, sir.
with you. I think you're conflicted in terms of the police department's role and other agencies' roles. The police have to have a free hand to attack criminal behavior in our community. We can't tie their hands and ask them to fight crime, and at the same time, they can't deal with the criminal element. The criminals can't have more guns, and the police can't be afraid of the criminals.
Gotcha.
The criminals have to be afraid of the police. And so someone else, some other agency needs to deal with the social services side of it. How do you combat conflict management and anger management? That needs to happen somewhere else. Now to your point on Hardy.
Hold that thought, Mr.
Yes.
Garrett. Before we go to break, I want to remind you about our weekly show lineup. I'm not going to be able to go through it all, but 7:30, Socrates Garrett Live. Wednesdays, 6:30, The Tanya G Show. We'll be right back.
Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Tune in each Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Central and hear a live broadcast of stories in our weekly publication. The Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Socrates Garrett Live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Socrates talks politics, finances, and social issues that affect the Black community and so much more. Phenomenal guests and engaging conversation. Straight talk, no nonsense topics that are informative, educational, and inspiring. Socrates goes live with politicians, church leaders, business owners, and others. The time is now, talking to you about us. Socrates Garrett Live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com.
you had your Earth Blend coffee today? At Earth Blend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earth Blend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Go ahead, Mr. Garrett.
Yeah, well, you know, we have to have enable the police to do their job. We don't have enough police. Jackson should have at least 400 police officers on the streets in the city this size. So we're understaffed, we're undermanned, and crime is running rampant. The reason I didn't commit crime, Tanya, is because of fear.
Right.
That's what stopped me from doing bad things.
Absolutely.
There's no fear in our community. And so, yeah, we're concerned about police brutality and the police overreacting and senseless murders by the police. But we can't overreact to it and to the point where the police can't do their job.
Absolutely.
So that's some conflict here that we got to deal with.
Okay. Let's pick up on Bishop Blunt's point of restoring Hardy School. Are you in agreement with that?
Well, you know, I'm supportive of Bishop Blunt and whatever he wants to do. I mean, if he thinks that reopening Hardy for a social facility is the way to go, then I have to give him a shout to do that. I just would ask Bishop Blunt to be very sure that the upkeep on old facilities, you know, even if someone gives it to you, the upkeep on it is more than a notion to keep it operative. It's old, the roofs are bad, HVAC systems need to be, so it takes a lot of money to put that back in business.
We have about 30 seconds before we go to our next clip. But why did Hardy School close anyway? Why are these schools closing?
We're losing citizens. We don't have as many students. We have all of these schools that we have, we don't have the population to support it.
Oh, wow. Okay, we're going to go to our clip here that starts in about 10 seconds, Mr. Garrett.
When I look at the lack of unity from us in the church, city government, state government, across the board, and my heart was really burdened last year that instead of complaining, to be a part of the solution and try to bring us together. And I feel like that's what's happening. What Bishop Blunt mentioned, I absolutely know it works. For 25 years, that's what we've done. So for 25 years, we've done that, and we've taken young men on the fringes of life, worked with them over a period of time, and watched their whole lives change. But one thing I realized, it cannot be done by one church. It cannot be done by one organization. Crime can't be beat by one department. It has to be a collective that makes this happen. And I believe it's so important that we understand that, and I think God has shown us something, that the only way we get out of this quagmire we're in is that we come together. And I've never thought I would say this, President Banks, but I'm talking about coming together even beyond religion. And I'm saying not just the church, and we're talking about social good for everybody, then we have to come together across even religion. But I want to mention 4 names. The first name I want to mention is a guy by the name of Robert Kennedy. Robert, better known as Zulu, has been in my church for 15 years, 10, 12 years. And when he came to my church, and I was introduced to him by my armor bearer, I met him on Lynch Street at Golar's Car Wash. And we met and we began to build a relationship. And over the years, in working with him, over the years watching him, over the years understanding that all of us don't come from the same place, so the way we get to the finish line is going to be different. And so I was challenged because how do I tell somebody who comes from a different walk of life, how do you get to the finish line in a different way without being condescending, without being condemning, and walk with him step by step in his life? And now he owns his own restaurant that is very successful. Another name I mentioned is Terrence Smith. I mean, he's been in my church 15 years. We worked together for 15 years now. He's my #1 assistant. But somebody used to run guns, somebody used to do all manner of things in his youth, now owns his own business, now works for a church, but owns his own business that does amazing marketing work and developing t-shirts and signs and so forth and so on. The point, and the reason I'm sharing that is because I believe there's hope. But it would be absolutely irresponsible of us to think that that hope is going to come overnight, to think that that change is going to be overnight. It's going to be a step-by-step process. And what I promised to the guys that I knew was that, you know what, I can't tell you what to do. Because when a young man tells me, Pastor Pickett, all I know to do, that's all I know to do is what I'm doing to support my family. My job is to work with them to give them another economic opportunity to change their life. But if you think that comes overnight, you're living in fantasy land. Another guy is Derek Smith. Derek owns Next Level Detail and Tire Shop. He's been in business for 21 years. But over the years, as God has developed his life and he employs young men, young women, and does amazing business. But how can they be successful unless we get behind them and support them and use their businesses?
But I want to go back to you talking about citizens moving out, and that's why schools are closing. Expound a little bit more on that. Are the citizens moving because of the crime?
Partly. They're moving because of crimes and the lack of upward mobility. There are no opportunities. There are no real major employers in our city. Businesses have abandoned the city, and the top talented tenth of our population, both in the African-American community, have also abandoned the community. And so what you have is a reduction in the number of students, and you have an increase in students that are coming from dysfunctional families or from socioeconomic arenas that create a greater challenge to learn and teach.
Hold that thought, Mr. Garrett. Before we go to break, I want to remind you about our weekly show lineup. Tuesday at 7:30 p.m., Socrates Garrett Live. Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., The Tanya G Show. Thursday at 6:30 p.m., The Doors of the Church Are Open. Friday at 6:30 p.m., The Mississippi Link Live. And Saturday at 10 a.m., the USD Adventurous Update. Be sure to tune in and support us on WeBelieveDigital.com. We'll be right back with Mr. Socrates Garrett to talk about the crisis of crime in the city of Jackson. Socrates Garrett Live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Socrates talks politics, finances, and social issues that affect the Black community and so much more. Phenomenal guests and engaging conversation. Straight talk, no nonsense topics that are informative, educational, and inspiring. Socrates goes live with politicians, church leaders, business owners, and others. The time is now, talking to you about us. Socrates Garrett Live every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
New set, new look, new network. Catch the Tanya G Show every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. on WeBelieveDigital.com. Let's talk politics, business, the future, and more. Interested in being a guest? Email viralstreamtv@gmail.com. The Tanya G Show, where the guest is the star of the show. Every Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. live streamed on WeBelieveDigital.com.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Mr. Garrett, continue on with your point in saying that there is no upward mobility. Would you agree that in addition to there being a crime crisis, that there is an economic crisis as well in Jackson, and how do we fix that?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. One is I want to give a shout out to Mayor Lumumba. Of all of the people that spoke to me, he was the one that singled out the fact that we're dealing with a poverty issue.
Absolutely.
He focused on poverty
Absolutely.
issues in our community because we know that poverty is the root cause of crime.
Right.
Poverty is the root cause of crime. And so he focused on that and brought that to the attention of the audience, along with Bishop Pickett, who
Right.
also mentioned economic development.
Exactly.
Look, we got to eradicate poverty in our community if we're going to fight crime. And we got to do that by have young people having upward mobility. They have jobs. They have opportunities. They have role models. They have to see those things. And so until we fix that, we can't solve this
Well,
problem.
how do we fix that? How do you go about fixing it?
Well, a couple ways. One is that you have to build an environment where businesses will come, and you have to be business friendly. You have to reach out to businesses and get them to come in here. You have to have corporate partners. If a city doesn't have corporate partners that's working with them, they can't get much done. Where are utility companies? Where's the Mississippi Valley Gas or Atmos Gas, whatever it's called today? What role are they playing in providing upward mobility for the citizens? They take all of the fees out of our community,
Right.
with these light bills and water bills and gas bills. What are they putting back into the community to work with the city in partnerships? You got to have that or you can't make it.
Well, we're going to look at this next clip that's going to start here in about 5 seconds, and I think it is Kenneth Stokes or Congressman Thompson.
That will fit just about any need that I've heard talked about tonight. What you have to do is prepare the program, meet the requirements, and submit the paperwork. And I encourage you to do that. So there's nothing that we can't work with. We now have a program for houses of worship that if there are some security issues you have, you can apply through the Department of Homeland Security. We buy security cameras, we build fencing. We'll even come and do a free survey of your church and tell you exactly what you need to secure the facility. All you have to do is make the request. We'd be happy to do that. From a training standpoint, we will train law enforcement through free of charge. All you have to do is put the request in. This is all the way from FBI Academy at Quantico. If the fire department needs individuals to be trained in arson investigation or what have you, we do that. We have a fusion center located in Rankin County where every major law enforcement agency is represented. City of Jackson needs to have a permanent person in the fusion center. At this point, we don't have that. And that puts you in the mix with every law enforcement agency in the state. The the training component. We have the U.S. Marshal Service that we can work with local law enforcement. We have DEA that provides the training and the task forces. All that will go toward mitigating some of the challenges I'm hearing tonight. So I encourage you, we have a website called grants.gov. Grants.gov. You put your concern in that website, and it will give you every federal program. So if you wanted youth recreation, for instance, it'll tell you every youth recreation program that's available. If you wanted to do something for senior citizens, put it in, it'll spit it out. Then you have to make the decision, is this a program that's for my city? And then submit it, and we help you get it funded. But on the federal side, if you don't ask or submit, then they're not going to come and try to tell you how to run local government. That's for the city mothers and city fathers to do that. But we're perfectly willing to be a partner. It's my district, my community, like it is everyone else's. And the last thing we can't do is let mediocrity cause us to fail. By somehow accepting it has to be this way, it really does not.
Well, there was a lot in Congressman Thompson's statements. I think you could spend an entire show deciphering all of the things that he was talking about.
Indeed.
And so I would encourage our viewers to refer to the article in the Mississippi Link newspaper. I think it talked about a lot of the things that were going on in this community forum, and also shared some ideas and concepts. So I encourage our viewers to look at that article in the Mississippi Link newspaper. Mediocrity. We're below mediocrity. We are falling and failing as a community. It's no one person's fault. You know, it's a whole systemic thing that's going on,
Right.
but the quality of life and the standard of living for my children is not the same as it was for me.
Right.
And so we are slipping further behind in every major category as a race of people. So mediocrity, no, it's worse than that.
Now, Congressman Thompson said that there is a grant program available for just about every need that he heard addressed. Do you feel that the legislators and the councilmen take advantage of the grant programs to help with funding that could mitigate a lot of the problems that the city of Jackson faces?
As I said earlier, this would take some time to unpack Congressman Thompson's statements about all of the things that are available. We can't have all of these programs, and yet as a community we're sliding backwards. So something does not match. Either we don't have enough resources available to us to pull ourselves up by our bootstraps, or we fail to even take advantage of it.
We'll be right back after these messages.
The Mississippi Link is an African-American female-owned newspaper with a trusted voice that is highly respected throughout the city, state, and nation. Our motto, keepers of the knowledge for people who speak the truth, since 1993. Tune in each Friday night at 6:30 p.m. Central and hear a live broadcast of stories in our weekly publication. The Link significantly influences the thoughts, attitudes, and buying decisions of its readers. Call us at 601-368-8481 for your advertising needs. If you would like to receive a newspaper in the mail each week, our annual subscription is only $52 per year. That is only $1 per week for you to stay informed regarding many stories that you can only get in the Mississippi Link. Sign up today at themississippiLink.com and click on Home Delivery.
Welcome to the Adventurous Podcast. I'm your host, Deidre Perry, and these are my co-hosts. And weekly, we will be coming to you to bring you the latest information in the world of agriculture. We invite you to join us every Saturday from 10 to 10:30. Join us. Come on, take an adventure.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Let's pick back up with the grant conversation, Mr. Gary. You continue on with what you were saying.
Well, I was responding to your question. Do I think there's enough funds available for this community? And obviously not. There's a disconnect here with funds availability and funds that we're receiving. Our community traditionally does not get the dollars down to the level where our folk can be touched. All of the stimulus money and infrastructure money goes into schools or businesses that our people don't run and operate. So no dollars get down to the grassroots community where the essence of the problems are emanating from. So yeah, we got problems. Our folks don't know how to write for grants. Our folks don't know how to search federalbiz.gov to see what's available.
Well, Councilman Stamps said that 10 years ago, Congressman Thompson provided training on how to navigate through using the system. And he asked, how can we go about getting that training again? Congressman Thompson, kind of said, I guess you could do it virtually. But if the congressman is not providing the training of how to maneuver through the grants and the resources that are available, then, what is his role really as representing us?
Well, it's certainly the congressman's role is not to train us. That's not what the congressman is doing. He's 35,000 feet above where we are. He's dealing with crisis on the border. He's dealing with immigration laws, and he's fighting major policy decisions every day. That's where his focus is. Our focus is how do we get our people involved and in the loop and receiving opportunities.
Hold that thought, Mr. Garrett.
Appreciate the invitation by the council to come here to speak today on what the U.S. Attorney's Office can do. As you may or may not know, we are I say a small office. We're an office of 27 federal prosecutors, 11 civil prosecutors, an office of lawyers. Our job when we are appointed and become assistant United States attorneys are to prosecute cases that are of violent crime, other matters that are of federal jurisdiction. In this instance, or for the city of Jackson, we've been partnering with the Jackson Police Department in earnest since about 2015. And we are continuing to do that today. We meet once a week with representatives of JPD, with several representatives from our federal law enforcement officers, or agencies, I should say, whether it be ATF or FBI or even Homeland Security as well. And we meet at that time to discuss violent crime, certain acts of certain individuals that may warrant or justify federal prosecution. Of course, we have limited jurisdiction over certain crimes, we can't just investigate and prosecute a homicide. We can if it's a homicide of a federal official and things such as that. But we have continued to do that. We've worked with the Jackson Police Department over the years, and I've met several of you, and we've pledged to you our continued support in doing that. We're a small piece of the puzzle, but I think we're an integral piece of that puzzle. Our faith-based leaders are probably one of the larger pieces of the puzzle. Our homes are a large piece of the puzzle. We bring in the federal prosecution when it's needed, when it's necessary. We are willing to assist the city of Jackson. I know our federal law enforcement agents are as well, and we're committed to helping in any way we can. We have, in the last several months, collaborated with District Attorney Owens on cases that may better fit in the federal system. And so we think that going forward, we can continue to do our part. We anticipate that to continue. We have support from the Attorney General in that regard. We have a Assistant United States Attorney, Chris Wansley, who is devoted to the city of Jackson, who runs the meetings that I mentioned to you once a week. And we will continue to do so. And I pledge to you that support.
Did you want to continue with the grant in saying that Congressman Thompson shouldn't be training us? It was some other points that you were making.
It's not his job. It's one of the things that our people tend to do is everybody want to get out of their lane. And everybody wants to talk about what's wrong in somebody else's lane. That's not Congressman's job to train us.
So what should the councilmen be doing to see what resources are available or grants that are available that would help for their ward or their particular area?
They should be building an infrastructure that has the capacity to go out and find these grants. They should have a grant writing department. They should have somebody in place that knows how to do that does that every day. And so that's their job, to put competent people in the right positions so that they can do their work. We're too busy putting friends and relatives in nepotism, and it really is incompetence. We're too busy putting people in the wrong positions and expecting them to do something about something that they can't do. And so, that's the council's job, and that's the mayor's job, and that's all of the school superintendent's job. They have to put competent people around them that know what to do.
So they could hire, in essence, a grant writer that all they do is sit up and look for grants that will benefit the community, and that has not been done in the existence of having a mayor? I don't understand that.
Well, I don't know why you don't understand it.
I mean, I don't understand that.
Obviously, you know if the congressman says all these revenues and all of this help is out there, and we're not getting it, and something is wrong.
Hold that thought, Mr. Gary. Before we go to break, I want to remind you about our weekly show lineup. Tuesday at 7:30 p.m., Socrates Garrett Live. Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., The Tanya G Show. Thursday at 6:30 p.m., The Doors of the Church Are Open. Friday at 6:30 p.m., The Mississippi Link Live. And Saturday at 10 a.m., the USDA Adventurous Update. Be sure to tune in. We'll be right back after the break.
Hello, friends. This is Pastor J. Artie Stuckey, and I'm personally inviting each and every one of you to join me and the Voices of Restoration May 15th at New Horizon Church International, as we will be having our live recording and videotaping. Listen, you don't want to miss this event. It's going to be awesome and amazing. If you need to get your tickets, the tickets are only $10, and we're looking to see each and every one of you there. Don't miss it.
Hi, I'm Tanya Gray with your Insurance Minute. When you buy a life insurance policy, you're making an agreement with an insurance company to pay a monthly premium in exchange for a payment or death benefits to your beneficiaries at the time of your death. You could purchase a life insurance policy that lasts for just a few years or for your entire life, with death benefits ranging anywhere from several $1,000s to several $1 million. If you were to die unexpectedly, would anyone in your life be financially impacted? If the answer is yes, you might want to consider a life insurance policy. Life insurance helps protect the people in your life who need you the most. Legally, your beneficiaries can use a death benefit payout any way they wish. A life insurance death benefit is meant to replace the income of the policyholder, so beneficiaries can use the payout on whatever expenses they have after the death of the policyholder. Contact the KPG agency for a free quote to start a policy today.
Have you had your Earthblend coffee today? At Earthblend Coffee, we take pride in offering you the very best of beans across the world, blended and roasted to perfection, giving you superior quality and satisfying and flavorful taste. Experience the world in one cup with Earthblend Coffee.
To order, visit earthblendcoffee.co now.
Mr. Garrett, we were talking about grant writers needing to be hired in the city that could help mitigate a lot of the problems that we're having. But I want to talk about that, but I also want to ask you, what can the citizens do? Because we as citizens are not doing enough or bringing the councilmen or the legislatures to task to work on our behalf. So what do the citizens need to be doing?
Well, the citizens are the ones that's most affected.
Exactly.
And so, but the only time they have a voice in this deal is during the election cycle. The citizens are doing a poor job of putting the right people in the positions to solve critical problems. You cannot, the city of Jackson is a $350 million enterprise. And our council people are probably paid $29,000 a year to make these decisions in a $350 million enterprise, which they have no background, no training when they come there to deal with an enterprise of that magnitude. So what do you expect them to do? It's far beyond their pay grade to deal with these issues and to come up with the kind of solutions that are required to solve some of these problems. So the citizens are doing a poor job of putting the right people in these positions. We got to have educated, competent people that's leading our governments.
Well, do those people run? Are those people running?
No, they do not run it. And they're not running because we've turned on each other as a community so bad that we talk about each other so bad that no one wants to go through the abuse of an election cycle for you to drag me and my family through all kinds of nonsense.
Exactly.
So what we end up with is people that don't have the skill set to do the job in the positions.
Amen.
When the city came to the Capitol for the $45 million request for infrastructure, I was in on that meeting. Several of our representatives and senators from the Jackson-Hinds County delegation were there, and we had a great presentation from the city, and we had a great justification for the funds, and I kind of left there feeling as if this, and they didn't want but $15 million from the state of Mississippi. Out of the $45 million, they had 3 or 4 other ways of getting the other amount of the money, but they wanted only $15 million from the city of Jackson. I mean, from the state legislature. Speaker of the House was the one that convened that meeting, oversaw that meeting, and I left out of that meeting really feeling that, you know, I believe the speaker is going to be all right with the city of Jackson this time. And the reason I said that was because I made the last statement of Senator Blunt and Senator Norwood in that meeting, and I said, Mr. Speaker, one thing you got to keep in mind and not to forget, Jackson, Mississippi is the heartbeat of the state. Repeat, the heartbeat of the state. So I'm sure you're going to realize that and help us out. Well, of course, you know, it fell through. It did not work, and it did not materialize. One of the things, though, I think that the state legislatures view Jackson, we have a lot to do to appease those people up there. For example, riding from the Capitol just the other day, and you go down, is that Monument or West Street, coming from the Capitol, going down by the old Sun and Sand, Kenny, and you go down there about 2 or 3 blocks, and you're going to run into some of the worst streets you ever seen in your life. My point is, why wouldn't the city pave the beautiful street going to the Capitol and leaving the Capitol? So those folks from the country, that representatives and senators up there, can ride down a smooth street, at least leaving the Capitol. There are a lot of things I'm saying that the city needs to do to appease our state legislators. It's not only infrastructure, but being proactive with the violence that we're having in the city of Jackson. A lot of them are dead afraid of Jackson, Mississippi. You know, we got folk coming from Etowah, Diddy, Mississippi. You know, they're not too comfortable with coming to Jackson and hearing what's going on, Chief, with our murder rate and all that. People are scared. Your representatives and your senators, they are afraid. So my point is, I think if we had more of a positive feeling by these colleagues of mine, of ours, that they would do more for Jackson. Naturally, we're going to do all we can, but we got to sell them on there is a positive, proactive approach to solving our crime problem and our infrastructure problem.
Mr. Garrett, should the city be appeasing the state legislators?
Well, the state of Mississippi, the legislature does not do anything for Jackson. So what Representative Brown is saying, that maybe if we appease them in some way, maybe they'll do a little bit more. I think he's misguided.
I agree.
I think he's misguided. A state that refuses to accept Medicare expansion, a state that was the last to remove the Confederate flag, a state that does not give any funds to the city of Jackson to help it with its infrastructure or assist in fighting crime in any way, is not someone you need to appease.
Exactly.
You need though to have the ability to extract funds from the federal government, if you can't get it from the state government, from the federal government, to bring it into your city, into your towns, to help deal with your issues.
Let's talk about the $45 million that the city requested for the infrastructure. Now, I did read another article that said that out of the $45 million, the legislator granted $3 million. Is that enough to fix the infrastructure and water sewage problem in the city of Jackson?
$3 million won't run my enterprise. It won't run Socrates Garrett Enterprises by itself. Our payroll is greater than $3 million annually, just in Socrates Garrett Enterprises. So we can't talk about a number like that.
Keep going. Okay.
Can't talk about a number like that in terms of a city or what it needs.
Why do you think the $15 million was shut down? Because from my understanding and what Representative Brown said is that they were going to get the funding from other sources. So why was the $15 million not provided?
It wasn't provided because we don't have people that are dedicated to Jackson. And Jackson and our leaders are misguided. And when Bo Brown says that Jackson is the heartbeat of something, that's years ago. That was the time when Jackson was proactive, when Jackson had progressive thinkers, when the local banks were involved, when the chamber was involved, when the utilities was involved, and white folk and black folk were working together to build something. We don't have that anymore. Jackson's not the heartbeat. Jackson barely has a pulse. When I go out in Rankin County and I look at all of the name brand stores that are in Flowood, I look at everything you might imagine is there. Those people don't have to come into Jackson for nothing.
Do you in your honest opinion, think that the opposition and why the city of Jackson doesn't get the funding that we need is because it's a black-owned and run city, or a black-ran city?
It's a opposition to black, period. Whether it's the city, the county, or the state, we're in a divided community, a divided America. We're in an environment where no one is going to help African Americans to do anything. And it's just not in Jackson, it's throughout this entire country. And so we have to deal with our reality. We did better before integration. We did better in the times when we supported one another than we do today. So you got to ask yourself, what are we going to do to save ourselves, because the government is not going to do it.
Well, Mr. Gary, I have most certainly enjoyed this conversation. We have got to do a part 2. It's so much that we did not cover. I would like to thank the viewers for tuning in, and please support WeBelieveDigital.com. Again, check out our shows. Our weekly lineup is Tuesday at 7:30 p.m., Socrates Garrett Live. Wednesday at 6:30 p.m., The Tanya G Show. Thursday at 6:30 p.m., The Doors of the Church Are Open. Friday at 6:30 p.m., The Mississippi Link Live. And Saturday at 10 a.m., the USDA Adventurous Update. Be sure to tune in. We'll see you next time on the Mississippi Link Live.